Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. I'm Excoundrel and I do Warcraft Rumble content. Before we get into this video, thank you to my current channel members. You can see them on the image below. Now, what is this video all about? Well, this is a new player FAQ. I have been asked so many questions in my Discord, I decided to make a full FAQ for new players. If you would like to just read this, then please feel free to click the Discord link below, but I will be adding some extra commentary outside of the text by itself. There is a lot of questions on there, and actually something that I'm asking you guys to do is if you have a question that isn't answered on this list, can you please just send it to me in the Discord, and I will add it to the list, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. What I'm going to do in this video is, for those of you that are not on the Discord, I'm going to run through the questions and answers, and there's plenty of really good information here for new players. This is all targeted primarily towards some of you guys who have just started in the last few days. Some of you that have watched my videos will know answers to these questions already, so there's that. So, which leader should I choose? It's like the #1 question I get asked, especially when people are starting out. In my opinion, you can separate out leaders into tiers. Now, the reason I've separated them out into tiers is because of their individual power as leaders and how adaptable they are in terms of decks that they can run with. Baron and Tyrion are like some of the most adaptable leaders in the game, but they're also incredibly strong in their own right. Rend might be the single strongest leader unit in the game just because of what he can do, but he's also one of the most expensive. And Hogger is good because he cycles really well and he becomes an individual powerhouse in his own right. But Hogger does require a very specific style of play, but that specific style of play can work in most PvE maps. Baron, Tyrion, Rend, and Hogger, though, are all like leaders that you can build decks around and they'll serve you very well in both PvE and PvP. The A tier leaders are leaders that are not as individually powerful, but they are adaptable, so you can kind of build them into lots of different styles of deck. The only one that is kind of less like that is Maiev, but Maiev is quite strong, and the decks that she can run are very good in both PvP and PvE. But the rest of the guys on this deck, some of them have a little bit more affinity towards spells, like Blood Mage and Jaina, but in general, they're quite adaptable leaders. They're just not the individual powerhouses that the S tier leaders are. The B tier leaders they're good, but they require a specific deck to work. Sneed needs siege units in his deck, and he needs maps that allow him to take towers or meeting points, and that's not always the case or easy to do in PvE. And Murkai requires low-cost deck, and his gimmick is that he spams units onto the board, which often in PvE you'll find there's a lot of AoE, and bosses can just one-shot entire waves. So Murkai not exactly always the best for PvE content. But Murkai is really good in PvP. And then in my garbage tier is Chalga. I know that you can make Chalga work, but she's so inconsistent. And honestly, I just don't think she's never going to be good because of that inconsistency. You can sometimes cheese out a ridiculous like gold value level of minis, but then they can get dealt with, and then it's difficult to play her from that point onwards. So, you know, I just don't rate Chalga as a leader. Which minis should I focus on? Ultimately, the way that you should approach this is that you should try to unlock all minis because it's the best way to level up your collection account or your collection level. By leveling up your collection level, you increase the amount of passive experience you gain from pretty much every source, which essentially means you're going to level up all of your collection quicker in the long run. But, in my opinion, for PvE, and all of this is kind of focused towards PvE right now because that's what most people are tackling, Earth Elemental, Quillboar, Harpies, Huntress, Safe Pilot, and Whelpegs. Now, Whelpegs, I would only put in there because they become the best unit in the game when you unlock their first talent. Whelpegs probably are the best unit in the game when you unlock the Flameburst talent for them. Before the Flameburst talent, they're not actually that good. So I'm putting that little caveat in there. Some notable mentions like Defias, Bandits, Abomination, and Meatwagon. Meatwagon becomes very strong in PvE, like especially towards heroics. But Earth Elemental, Quillboar, Harpies, Huntress, and Safe Pilot would be the 5 that I would try and put a bit of focus on for PvE content. But of course, as I said, like unlocking everything is important because it increases your collection level. How many quests can I do per day? And can I see how many I have left? I wish we could see how many we have left, but no, you can do 20 quests per day, which can stack up to 300 in total. So anywhere that you don't complete on one day will roll over to a total on the next day. On my main account, I'm definitely permanently at 300. I probably do about 4 or 5 quests a day on my main account. I do not have the time to do 20 quests a day. But if you're really committed to leveling up your free-to-play account, for instance, or you're trying to min-max the absolute extreme, 20 quests per day is what you can do. And that will give you experience for specific units in your deck. Did I play a bot in PvP? Yes. If you're starting out in PvP, you will have played a bot. For the first 3 games on any leader, so if a leader is at 0 honor, the first 3 games are almost always going to be versus bots. After that, it can be bots or it can be humans, and then usually once you're above 1000 honor, you're going to get more humans than you get bots. In the beta, you could play bots all the way up to 3000 honor, but I'm pretty sure with the global release that will have changed. But yes, bots are in PvP. It's designed to help you ease into the game mode, and they're supposed to be easier opponents for you to kind of face. Although I have faced some bots that are actually really strong and quite annoying to deal with. Well, I remember a bot game where I played and it went all the way down to overtime. That was how difficult it was. What are those bronze, silver, gold deck upgrade slots from dungeons, and does it matter which ones I choose? Those slots give additional levels to minis that fit the type on the upgrade slot. So each mini has a distinct tag, and you can see that by tapping on the mini in your deck collection and swiping to the right, and it will show you the tags that mini's got. Some minis have lots of tags, which makes them make them very adaptable. Some minis have very few tags, which means they're very specific. The more adaptable a mini is, the more likely it can be slotted into many different deck types. The top 3 upgrade slots, including your leader slot as well, cannot be changed. They will always be the same. So that gives the leader 3 slots that they work with that you have to kind of play around. The bottom 3 slots are offered at random and can be re-rolled for 250 Arclight energy. So it doesn't necessarily matter, but especially as a new player, 250 Arclight energy is quite a lot. Here are some good options that I like for the bottom 3 in most cases. Unbound, Elemental, Squad, Flying, and Ranged, and sometimes Tank, depending on the type of deck. So those are some that I would suggest because they're quite adaptable. There's lots of good Unbound units in the game that are in the meta right now. There's lots of good Elemental units in the game. There's lots of good Flying and Range units in the game, etc. Those are the ones that I'd recommend in general for the bottom 3 slots. Bronze is 1 additional level, silver is 2 additional levels, and gold is 3 additional levels. What should I buy green, blue, or purple units on the grid? Yes. Especially once you've unlocked most of the minis already. If you're early on, then it might actually be better to save your gold and complete your collection depending on the mini that is offered. Because this is the most important part. If you were offered an S tier mini at uncommon or rare and you have the gold to buy it, then definitely take it. Especially at uncommon because it's not that much of a gold investment. That means you skip the need for Arclight energy for the upgrade, and if you upgrade to rare or epic, you skip the need for a rare core or an epic core. Rare cores are 200 gold, I think, when you get offered to them to buy them for the gold. Epic cores are 1000 gold. So usually you're saving from anywhere from like 1000 plus the Arclight energy cost, you know, all the way down to uncommons where you're saving like the gold value of the Arclight energy upgrade. So it's very gold efficient to buy them if they are uncommon or rare. And if you want to keep a mini on the grid that is uncommon, you can pay 5 gold to move it up every day. So you can spend 5 gold a day to move it up until you do have the gold to be able to buy it. So yeah, very gold efficient to do that, and especially for good units. If it's a bad unit, in inverted commas, maybe wait, because that gold would be better spent unlocking other minis to increase your collection level. What is a faction week, and how does this affect the game? Every week, the faction that gets to enter the dungeon rotates. Right now it is Horde. There are currently 4 dungeons and 5 factions, which means the dungeons rotate every week, the factions rotate every week, and so you'll usually have a 4-week cycle. Well, when I say 4 week, I mean 4 weeks of 20-week cycle. Let's call it a 20-week cycle. You'll have a 20-week cycle where one faction will go through all of the dungeons in sequential order. So the next time that Horde rolls around, it will probably be Gnomrigan or something like that. It won't be the same dungeon for Horde the next time that we get Horde in the week. You should do dungeons as much as possible when you have the option to. This also affects the grid. So the same faction that goes into the dungeon only leaders from that faction will show up on the grid. So you can only buy Horde leaders from the grid thus far. So Horde leaders like Cairn, Sneed, and Grommash, they're the only leaders that will show up in the grid this week. If you're waiting to buy Baron or Tyrion, you're going to have to wait for Undead Week or Rend for Blackrock Week. I think Blackrock Week is next week. So if you're looking for Rend, it'll be next week. So that's an important note. How should I level up my units? You should try to level up the units that you're using in your primary PvE deck, which you will do naturally anyway from combat experience. But if you're doing quests or you've got tomes and you see an opportunity for an easy level up on another unit, you should take it because every single level up that you grant to a mini will grant you one point towards your collection level. And again, The higher that you can get your collection level, the better it's going to be for you leveling up all of your minis across the board. It affects the XP you get from quests, it affects the XP you get from tomes, it affects the XP that you get for buying a new unit, etc. What should I buy from the grid? If you're a new player, your primary goal should be to unlock, I've talked about this before, your primary goal should be to unlock as many units as possible. Once you've done that, you should try to start to collect stars for units that are high tier for PvE and PvP. You can see some above suggestions on that. They're right up here. You can see the suggestions for stuff that you should maybe look to, especially like Quillbore, Huntress, and especially Safe Pilot and Wellpegs. They have really strong talents. If I were going to focus on 3 units to try and get to uncommon first, outside of leaders, I would be Huntress, Safe Pilot, and Wellpegs, because they have some of the best talents in the game. Does my first purchase talent matter, and can I swap talents? If you take away anything from this video, please take away that your first talent purchase is incredibly important, because you cannot swap it until you upgrade the unit from uncommon to rare. And believe me, that takes a while, especially if you're not willing to spend money. So, do research on your first talent choice. I have a spreadsheet which I've linked in this FAQ. I'm going to link it everywhere. It has good suggestions in bold for your first talent for every unit. If you follow that spreadsheet, you won't have a bad talent on a unit, at least a really bad talent. There are just some talents that you want to avoid because they're not good. So if you follow the spreadsheet, you should end up with a very well-rounded collection with most of the good meta talents on your units. But of course, if you want to explore it in your own time, then do it anyway. The other point is that you cannot swap talents. So I've said that before. Yeah, you can't swap talents. What is the best way to level my units as a free-to-play player? Max your quests every day. Take your free login rewards every 4 hours in the shop. Do as much PvP as you can. And Big Math told me that a 60% win rate in PvP makes it more efficient for XP generation than quests. If you win a PvP match, you get a load of experience for a unit in your deck, way more than you'd get from winning a PvE match. So it's a good way to level up your units. Should I do my dungeons? I've talked about that as well, but should I buy leaders from the grid to do them? Now, you can buy leaders from the grid, but throughout the campaign, you are offered choose a leader reward for PvE progression, and the pool of leaders is much smaller than the pool of minis, so you're more likely to get offered a leader that you want from getting a free reward, and so therefore, I actually wouldn't personally buy leaders from the grid unless it's some of the really good ones, like Baron, Tyrion, Rend, and Hogger. I would buy one Horde leader just so you can start to level up a Horde deck, because that becomes important for heroics. You need to have a good deck for every faction to start doing heroics properly. So the Horde leader that I would probably recommend is Cairn, just because I think he's the best of the Horde leaders. I think Sneed's too specific, and I think Grommash is a little weaker than Cairn. Although actually Grommash is actually quite decent as well. So yeah, I mean Grommash and Cairn are both quite adaptable, so I'd go for those before I'd go for Sneed, for instance. But yes, you need to have a good Horde deck at some point, and because it's Horde week this week, maybe buy one leader at least and start to try and push the dungeons as much as you can. How long should the campaign take to beat? I think as a purely free-to-play player, the campaign will take 2 to 3 weeks of playing daily. You can quite easily get your units to level 11 and level 12, but once you need to get past the level 14 and 15 missions, it becomes a bit of a wall. You can beat PvE content probably around 2 levels, maybe 3 levels if you're really good, above the deck level that you've got. But certain bosses are just impossible if you have a massive level of disadvantage. My main account hasn't even finished heroics yet, and I've spent like $100, and I've also been playing for 2 months. So heroics take a long time to beat. What are the best real money purchases? The 100% best real money purchase that you will ever make in the game if you want to spend is Arclight Booster. It's so much value compared to anything else that you buy, and that's why it's a permanent boost to your account, and it's also why you will always have it offered to you, because I think Blizzard see that as a fair price for the game. The other things are special offers and timed offers, so offers you get for completing areas, and some of the special offers that you can see in the bottom portion of the shop. Do not buy gold top-ups, they are the worst value for money. You always want to compare the equivalent gold top-up to assess how much you're getting, and I'm going to show you what that means just now. Give me a second. Okay, so I can show you here what I mean a little bit in terms of the value, right? So, I mean, Arclight Booster is crazy. Like, it gets better the further you go into the game, and you're always going to get a 50% increase in gold earned and a 20% increase on experience earned, so it's just so good. But let's compare this one here. This is actually quite a good option. This is my free-to-play account, by the way, so this is why I'm showing you, because on my pay-to-win account, I generally tend to buy stuff. So, $8.99 for mega tomes, and then 2,500 coins, right? So let me compare this down here. Oh, I've got this. Oh, I got free 100 coins. Let's go. Pog. Rare upgrade caught there. And I could buy a Grommash with experience, which is actually interesting, but I'm not going to do it. So, down here, so it's 2,500 coins. To get 2,500 coins, I'd have to spend, if I wanted 2,500 coins, I'd have to spend £22.49, right? So you can even just instantly see the value compared to the gold top-up from this one. 2,500 coins for £9 versus £22.49 for 3,000 coins. It's pretty crazy. The same here, like 1,500 gold. So 1,500 gold is probably somewhere around £12. So you're getting about the value of this, but you're also getting Sylvanas and a load of experience for Sylvanas as well. So you're getting a mega XP boost and then that. The only thing that I would say is with these offers, and it's really annoying, is that if you look at your collection level, mega XP boosts, it gets you so much less compared to my main account, right? So obviously you're not actually going to get that high of a leader. You won't get like a mega high leader. So yeah, that's what I want to say. But that's kind of how you want to go about working out the value. You look at how much you're getting for the money, and you compare it to the gold top-ups, which are like the worst value you can get ultimately. So if you ever want to spend, try not to buy these. You always want to look for these kind of offers here. And believe me, you get a lot of these thrown at you. And as far as I'm aware, the way that mobile games work is the less of them you buy, the more aggressive they get in terms of sending things. Anyway, that's everything for the video, guys. Hope you're well, and I will see you soon.